Welcome to the Women at the Top podcast interview series. My name is Regina Barr, and I'm the founder of the Women at the Top Network. I'm going to be your host today. Women at the Top, for those of you who don't know us, is a community of like-minded women who share the WAT vision and mission. And simply put, our goal is to empower aspiring women to lead. And we do this by providing training, connections, and great speakers. Joining me today is Kim Nagle, author of The Damn Plan, How to Find Freedom, Love, and Money in Your Business. And before we get started, I want to tell you just a little bit about Kim. Kim is a keynote speaker, author, and business coach. She believes that people are capable of taking authority over their lives and deserve the life they have always dreamed of. They just need a plan. Whether inspiring from the stage or coaching her clients, Kim is an energetic guide for those who want to build profitable businesses they love. When she isn't helping others achieve their dreams, she spends as much time as she can with her grandkids. And she delights in showing them that it is never too late or too soon. Now is the best time to live your dreams. So on that note, welcome, Kim.
Oh, thank you so much, Regina. Wow, thank you.
We are just excited to have you here. It's never too late. And for those who are listening in, we're just chuckling because we had a few little technical difficulties, but because we are pros at this, we still made it happen. So with that, I'm going to jump in with my first question. And Kim, I always love to hear the backstory from our guests about their book. And so tell us, if you will, what inspired you to write this book? And tell us, what is the damn plan?
What to do first? Well, I actually had this conversation this morning. So I want to just tell you what inspired me to do it, because I think it may resonate with some women out there who might be afraid to admit how competitive they are.
No kidding, right? I'm a little competitive myself, very often with myself. So yes.
When it comes to those grandkids, believe me, I want to stay in as good physical shape as I can so I can skate with them, so I can bomb down the hills with them, so I can do all those things because I am that competitive. So a number of years ago, a good friend of mine, coach, somebody who I admire greatly, said, I bet you can't write a book in 30 days because everybody's out there promoting write a book in 30 days, right? I bet you can't do it. I did it in 7. Because that's just how competitive I is. But I did it in 7, Regina. And then I took the time to really write the book. So I wrote the first draft, and I wrote it because I've been in coaching for 25 years, because I've watched all of us come through the challenges that women face in corporate, in business, the getting paid your worth, getting paid your value. I wrote it because I truly believe we can all do our very best, and we should never settle for less than we're capable of. That's why I wrote it.
That's
but I
great.
put the first book out there with the idea I teach people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a teacher by nature. And then I had another good friend tell me, do you suppose you could write more with your heart? After she read the first draft. And I went back and I realized that what I really wanted to say was everything I put in the book, those 4 core principles of DAMN: determined decisions, act consistently, mind your business, no excuses, were far more important than any traditional business plan. They were a way of doing business. They were a mindset. Determined decisions are decisions you make that are backed up in fact or based in fact and backed up in your resolve and willingness to act. So we're going to talk about that more later. And then of course the act consistently. Don't we all struggle with getting derailed, whether it's by other people or by our own thoughts? And then minding your own business. We all kind of know what that means. It means really paying attention to where we're at and focus on us. We are the most important people in the room. And then I love N. N is my favorite. It's my mantra: no excuses. It is just, you either want this or you don't. No excuses.
Well, I love all 4 of those concepts. And we do have a number of women from corporate America listening in, and I think they can equally apply this to the work that they're doing in the corporate realm or in their home or you talk a lot about dreams. So in something that maybe they have a dream or a hidden dream, right?
Right?
Sometimes we keep those things close to the cuff and deep inside. So I
Absolutely.
love the concept of the book. I love that you're competitive. You had 30 days and you said, oh, the heck with that. I'm going to do it in 7. And then you made it happen. So kudos to you. So
It
you
has gotten me in trouble too. Believe me.
I'm sure it has, but you know what? That's okay too. Now, you alluded to a broad career coaching women in many different arenas. And you've also worked with clients across a broad stage of business ownership. So,
Mhm.
first, to address the business ownership, how do you help people find freedom, love, and money in their business? And then I want you to also tell us, for those listening in or watching us today who come from corporate America, the advice you might give them to do the same, find freedom, love, and money as well. So two-part question.
Two-part question, and I get to answer I'm going to answer them both at the same time to start with, and then I'll
Perfect.
break them out. It's the same damn plan. Okay. If whether
Okay.
you're in corporate, you're in business, you're a woman who's devoting 100% of her time right now to raising kids, whether you're caring for the older people in your life, whatever your life looks like right now, the damn plan is more of an attitude than a plan. It's an attitude around ownership of my own truth. And it's an attitude around, I'm really worth this. I am worth everything. And if I value myself, I will value myself to the point that I will be able to add more value to the lives of those we love. So I do this through one-on-one coaching. And I also am currently, I've put together a group coaching program because right now, more than anything, we need each other, women raising women up. And I thought, what a better vehicle to do that in. And inside those group coaching models, those one-on-one sessions, we dig down to the truth. And like I said, you asked me to reflect on that question too. And I don't want to dig into it right now, but what is the truth? The truth is the facts around our money, our time, what we believe. And you notice I didn't say about the money. I mean, it has nothing to do with anyone else. It is your singular truth. So at a point in my life when I decided to make a massive right turn, I'd been doing some very successful work in a larger economic environment, working with cities and small nations. And I decided to make this turn toward women's business ownership. And I needed to dig. I did it because I had come to a place where my truth was that I was miserable. I was miserable. I woke up one morning and looked at the gray wall of my bedroom. Why did I paint it gray? Who knows? And I started doing the math of life and said, you know what? I don't have that many years left to live the life I want to. So I need to start looking at the facts. And why I stress the facts and the truth so much is because feelings are hard to deal with. They're
No
hard to
kidding.
change. They're hard
Yes.
to change. How many times in your coaching practice, Regina, have you come up against the wall of emotion and feeling, and it is so hard to change? But one of the things we can look at are the facts. Well, hey, I was making okay money, but I still wasn't at a level I wanted to be. I was working and doing good work, but I wasn't working with the people I really wanted to serve, the people that really that I felt I could make an impact with. So those were two important truths for me. And then a bigger truth, because I was unhappy, I had stayed in a long-term relationship that was abusive and thought I could fix that and blamed it on myself that I couldn't. I mean, all those things. And I was 70 pounds overweight. And when I started looking at the facts, and this is exactly what I do with my clients, when we start looking at those facts instead of the feelings to start with, we're able to start addressing the feelings. So I turned things around, and I'm happy to say, just with those, it's not simple, but with that simple twist, I was able to increase my business revenue 500%. and I lost 70 pounds, some of it twice, maybe 3 times. But you know what? I
But
lost
you did
70
it.
pounds and
Yes.
I can ride a bicycle now like a banshee. And I am truly living my best life for that simple fact. And the same thing I give to my clients, and that is facing the facts, the truth of our life.
Well, I love that you focus on facts because, like yourself, I work with a lot of women. And ironically, when it comes to showcasing their achievements or their best self, they often feel like they're bragging. And one of the things I always tell them, focus on the facts and just look at it as if you're just stating facts. You're
Mhm.
not bragging, you're just stating facts. And you can do it in a way that doesn't feel back to the feelings, right? So these are the facts. You've achieved these things. They're feeling as if it's bragging, but if they state facts, it helps to overcome that feeling. So I love that you are pointing out that it's the facts that are the most critical if you want to find the freedom, love, and money that in your business and your life, as you've stated. So
Well, and
congrats
in
to
the
you for all
yeah,
that
in
you
the corporate
accomplished with
life,
that.
it's exactly the same thing. If we find that we're not where we want to be, or we believe we have more in us, look at where we're at right now. We always start with that platform, those facts of where we're at right now. What do we want? Where do we want to go? Who do we want to be with? How do we want to feel?
Mhm.
All of those things, we must do that. And I would invite, how do you do that? COVID was actually not all that bad for me personally, because it gave me the time to pause. Let's not have another pandemic to pause. Okay.
I'm right there with you because COVID,
But
I think, gave a lot of us an opportunity to pause. And it's interesting, even myself coming out of COVID, there were some things that, as I would say, were having a bubble up inside that I had thought
mm,
about for a long time. And I've put some action behind those now. So it's very exciting. So I want to shift the question because you brought up COVID, and I agree that COVID did a big reset for a lot of people. We're
mhm.
seeing a lot of changes in the workplace, more hybrid, work from home, work in the office, a lot of remote working. I mean, things have been flipped upside down for most companies and for some of the employees. So in the book, you talk about life on your own terms. So tell us, if you will, how do you define that? What does it mean for you?
Well, first of all, I really, I think you and I, because you and I work with women who are rising to the top, or pushing to the top, or at the top, and it can be a lonely place, right? It can be pretty darn lonely. Whether you're a solopreneur, whether you own the company and you're at the top, whether you're the chief executive and you're at the top of a corporate environment, it can be lonely.
Mhm.
And to want, but here's the other part, to want something for yourself, just yourself, and to do it for yourself oftentimes gets in that headspace of selfish. That's greedy. No, we are hardwired as feminine to be caretakers. And that's wonderful, fabulous. The human race exists because we're
For
here as
women, yeah.
caretakers. It is the truth. And,
V
and
for victory.
acknowledge that it is never a weakness to feel as if you want to care for other people. But when you do it to the detriment of taking care of yourself, then it's the airplane adage, put your mask on first. So that's the first part of life on your terms, is to get outside of that headspace that you can have life on your terms. And it's not an or, it's an and. And that's what the damn plan is really about, is taking that pause, that time to think about how to make the and in this rather than the or. I can be successful and I can be good here, figuring that out, because it can be done. Anything's possible. So when
It's
I
funny.
define
b-
when I
In
define
in
life on my terms, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Oh, when I define life on my personal terms, I define it in terms of 4 important questions, which are in the damn plan. And I call them the golden questions. I've called them the platinum questions. I've called them any precious metal questions, because they are the crux of the damn plan. And they're the crux of your ability to move forward or stay where you are. Willingness. What are you willing to do? That's number one. What are you willing to do? Because not everybody's willing, as I did, to sell a 4,000 square foot house, move off 40 acres, pristine land in the woods, and move to the Twin Cities in a 900 square condo. Not everybody's willing to do that, but I was willing to do it because it was what it was going to take to make the change I needed to make. Question number two, what are you not willing to do? Early on in my career, I learned that I was not willing to sacrifice my time with my kids. And I haven't always gotten it 100%, but I always know when to say I'm sorry. And I always know how to get it better. Three, what are you willing to give up? Four, what are you not willing to give up? So those questions are critical because that defines life on your terms. Those four questions.
It's interesting. I wish more companies would think about those questions because we are seeing an outflow of women from the corporate realm. And I think it is more about what they're not willing to do and what they're not willing to give up. So what an interesting conversation that might be for an employer with their employees before the person is actually gone. So I love those 4 questions that are in your book. And I wrote them again because there's something about when I take pen to paper that is different from when I'm just reading something, because then it sticks with me. So I hope other folks are also taking some notes as we're having our conversation today.
Just as a note, all the notes are right there.
And yes, they are in the book.
Little
self-plug there. So I want to move us forward. So like myself, you have a background as a coach. I think some of the differences that you've coached individuals to help them launch businesses. And like I mentioned, a lot of folks listening in today come from the corporate world, but these principles and precepts really apply to anyone. So when you're thinking about business in general, what's the most important skill that people should or must possess to be successful in business?
Well, it's the same. I know I've said this to ad nauseum, even in just these few short minutes, but the principles apply across the board, whether you are the boss or whether you're an employee. They apply across the board. And, I think when I was actively teaching business, we always said that if somebody came out of one of our classes, one of our long-term business classes, if they came out deciding they didn't want to own their own business, they were going to go back to their employment and be much better, because now they understood the inner workings. So I've always seen it as a continuum, but the most important skill that any of us can possess is to show up. It also happens to be the number one rule of life. Show up. And then what does that mean? That means to be there with your ears open, with your eyes open, paying attention, and then participate. So these are simple rules of life. Show up, pay attention, participate, and don't get too attached to the results. That last part about expectation, I think, is a driver and can be a strong driver for strong women leaders. When the only right answer is our answer, we may lose. Or, we might think at first, oh my gosh, if I don't get my answer across, I'm going to be seen as weak. But how much strength is there in listening and bringing all the answers together? And I'm always surprised, always surprised at how the right answer shows up. So that showing up powerfully as a listener and a seer is one of the number one skills all of us as humans, as business owners, as corporate leaders. It's the number one skill we can all possess, must all possess.
I think it's especially true in this post-COVID world that we're operating in, where I like to tell people, you just don't know what's going on in someone else's world. So, if you listen, people will give you clues, and they so want to be heard because we've all been sort of isolated. I mean, I'm an outgoing person. I'm a people person. So God, I always say, has a sense of humor, My husband is an introverted engineer. His company was deemed essential. So throughout COVID, he was home for 2 weeks and then off to work. He went every day. The extrovert was like literally at full stop almost because a lot of
Mm,
my clients were reeling, trying to figure out how to stay open or do business in this new world and business environment we found ourselves in. So I love that, show up and, um, show up even when you don't feel like showing up, I think
oh,
is, part of that as well. And I really like the fact that you said that very often the right decision does come to the surface if you're willing to listen and be open to those other things. So that's
mm,
a great takeaway for folks that are listening in today.
absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
want to shift us forward because I find it interesting that your book also talks about speaking your truth. And I'm generalizing when I say this a little bit, but I think this probably resonates with a lot of women. I think women struggle with speaking their truth on some level because I can tell you that I know that I did. And that's another whole long story for another day. But I think part of it is because we want to be liked. And again, I'm generalizing. This isn't the same for everyone, but I could tell you in working with a lot of women, this is sometimes what holds them back. So tell us a little bit more about speaking your truth.
I'm glad we're kind of leaving this one toward the end of our conversation because it is the most important piece. As I am coaching women, when that truth arrives, it is so powerful. And when I talk about speaking your truth, it goes back to those facts of life. But before I don't want to, I'm not going to regurgitate that. I want to tell you a story about the truth. So I alluded to the fact that I've lost 70 pounds and I, got out of a 37-year abusive relationship. I was afraid to speak my truth for a long, long time because if I spoke my truth, as so many women might believe, people aren't going to like us. Exactly what you said. They're not going to like us, but more than not liking us, because we could find new friends, right? We could find new people to like us. There is so much shame and guilt sometimes in our truth. Whether the truth is that, late at night, I eat pounds of bonbons, or, late at night, I cry, or my kids, whatever, or I'm in an abusive relationship. I was afraid to tell my truth because I come from a long line of people who just don't get a divorce. 4 generations, no divorces. I'm the youngest of 7. There were hundreds, if not thousands of years of marriage preceding me. So what shame? What
Hmm.
shame? You're supposed to stick in there and make this work, right? And the shame and the guilt was unbelievable to the point where I went through some incredible tragedies alone, not even telling my sisters because of that. So that's how powerful this truth is, because when we speak our truth, when we find that person and find the courage within ourselves, this takes a great deal of courage. So don't underestimate it. Anybody who's sitting there listening to us today thinking, man, I've got a truth I'd love to share, just know that it takes an incredible amount of courage to share it. And you have the courage within you. You have the courage. And like me, I am positive that when you finally speak your truth, there's going to be a few people that said, I kind of knew something was up. I kind of knew where you were coming from. I kind of noticed. Why didn't you reach out to me? And they were there all the time. I have some friends in my circle that have been there for 30 years waiting for me to emerge and get out of the life I was in. Matter of fact, one of them called me the slowest caterpillar one day, which by the way, Regina, the book is coming out. It's a young woman's book called The Slowest Caterpillar.
I love that because caterpillars obviously transform.
They
So
do, they
that'll
do.
be,
And you tell a woman, give a woman a great book title like me, and she's going to turn it into
of
something.
course, you're going to
But
run with it.
the truth is speaking our truth, speaking our heart, speaking our behaviors. So At times in my life, I've always been able to make money, never had a problem knowing how to make money. Was I always a great money manager? No. Did I need to reach out and get some help? Yep. And so I did. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that.
No,
Was I always a great time manager? Oh, heaven forbid. No, but I told my truth. I faced my truth, got the help I needed. So do I always believe I'm the best person for the job? Nope. But I continue to get coaching support. I continue to reach out and ask for help. And that's all of us. The best coaches have coaches, right, Regina?
yes, they do.
Because we know this fact. We know this fact that we need somebody to reach out to.
Yes, and that you don't have to walk alone. And that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. So I'll leave it at that and shift us to our next question, which you mentioned that you're working on another book. And I know that writing a book can come with lots of challenges. So just tell us, what was the most challenging barrier that you had in writing the damn plan? So just one challenge.
One challenge. Well, first of all, I know my business partner who is also, I love the idea that I can do business with my daughter. So my daughter, Sandy's my business partner. And she's my extraordinary time manager, but she's going to want me to tell you that it's not The Slowest Caterpillar that's coming out. It's another book called It's About Damn Time. The Slowest Caterpillar is a total hobby
different book. Okay.
And it's fun. It's fun. They're all fun. And that is really the barrier to writing a book, mostly, is being willing to tell your truth. As I mentioned, when I wrote the first draft of the book, I wrote a hardcore how to start a business book. And the books that matter, the stories that matter, were what I needed to put in the real book. The stories that were going to matter to women who wanted to find freedom, love, and money in their lives, their businesses, their careers. And that was the hardest part, was knowing that if I was willing to tell my truth, I could elevate someone else. And then, just technically getting your backside in a seat, getting your hands on the keyboard and writing every day is probably one of the biggest barriers. So many women have so many great stories, and that belief in themselves and the power of their story is their first barrier. The second barrier is getting your butt in the seat.
Yes, just do it.
Just do it.
The old Nike, just do it. So
Absolutely.
we are actually winding down on our time together today, Kim. But before you go, I'd love it if you could just leave us with one piece of advice that you can offer to our viewers and our listeners today.
One, probably the biggest piece of advice, and we've been talking about it all the way throughout, is to pause. Take a pause in your day. Take a pause in your life. Give yourself permission to take a pause, by the way, because you've got a 24/7 calendar that barely has time for you to do whatever. And to put a pause, sometimes we feel guilty. So put a pause on something. Give yourself a pause to reflect on your truth, to reflect on where you're at, and sift through it. And say, okay, I'm willing. Where I'm at right now, I'm willing to stay here. Or where I'm at right now, I am unwilling to stay here. There's a fence, and you can't be going like this. You've got to be either happy on this side or happy on this side. Or just admit you're willing to be happy or unhappy. And so really just taking a long pause. You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. And if you can't give yourself permission, anybody who's listening, I give you full permission.
That's wonderful. And, as we're moving into, just a new business environment, a new world, I think it is important that women especially pause and make sure that they're on the path that they need and want to be on. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for being here today with us. That does conclude our interview with Kim Nagle. And just a reminder, you can learn more about Kim at, no surprise, damplan.com. So again, thanks for being here, Kim. And for those of you still listening in, please visit reginabarr.com. You can find a lot of information about upcoming podcasts and other events on the events page. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here today and have a wonderful day.